question, and that is, why do we remember something? Well, we can even rephrase that question and ask ourselves, why do we forget something? Do we have some kind of computer inside our head which is saying, okay, I'm going to memorize this, and on the other hand, oh no, I'm going to forget this one presently. Well, the things are not so simple, and we don't have a computer inside our head. And I'll try to demonstrate this tonight. From the moment that you were born, through the early childhood and growing up till the present moment, try to think and remember what can you remember in that timeline. Some certain events that you remember. Well, I'll try to demonstrate and tell you what I can remember. What I can remember is the smell of the roses in my grandmother's garden. On the other hand, I can remember one event when I was climbing up to the apple tree, and just before reaching the top, I fell down. The next thing, I remember that all the neighbors keep running and saying, "Oh Jesus, are you okay? Did you broke your arm or your leg?" Well, I was lucky that time. I just got a few scratches. But I asked myself, why do I remember those certain events? And I found something rather interesting. And that is, I do not remember those events. But on the other hand, I remember how I felt in those moments. You know, I remember how I felt so pleasant while smelling those roses. Or on the other hand, I remember how frightened I was when I fell off from that tree. So the thing is, inside our head is not a computer. It's a rather complex, I would even say some kind of supernatural being that remembers and stores our feelings in those certain moments. Well, let's make a simple test. Do you remember where you were and what you were doing in a moment when you heard for a tragical and terrible event of 9/11? How Bruno would say, this is for no and this is for yes. So, do you remember where you were in that moment and what you were doing? So let's see. Some are saying yes, some are stupid and they are saying no. Well, I remember that event as well. I remember that I was driving in my car and I heard that news on the radio. And I felt terrible in that moment. And my reaction would go something like this. Oh my God, how many people just died? So the thing is, I don't remember 9/11 as an event, but I remember that news and how terrified I was in that moment. Well, can you agree with me with all these stories? Some are stupid and saying no, and some are smart and saying yes. Thank you. And is there any certain way how we could improve and how we could memorize more? Well, the answer is yes. We can make certain tricks and we can memorize more. Did you ever found yourself in a situation that you met somebody and after talking for 5 minutes you couldn't remember his name? Did you find yourself in that moment? Well, here's the tip for that. So, for instance, when you meet some new people, try to connect his name with a certain characteristic of that person. So, for instance, if that person has a big nose, like Pinocchio, you could say inside his head, okay, he's Stipe and he's got big nose. And bingo! Each and every time you see my face, you will say, Oh yeah, that's that Pinocchio guy. What was his name? Oh yeah, his name was not Stipe. I don't have that big nose, but you will remember the name of that girl or boy that you met in that moment. So here's another example. For instance, I know one girl, and she likes to go shopping in a DM, and at one moment, while she was shopping, she got the tester perfume, and she liked that perfume. And she told me that. And I said, oh, great. So, I've done a little dirty trick. I couldn't remember the name of that perfume, but the name of the designer was Emmanuel Ungaro. And how did I remember that name? Well, I've connected that Emmanuel Ungaro as EU, and you know that Croatia is now running talks with the European Union. So that guy was not Emmanuel Ungaro for me, but it was European Union. And next day, when I went to the perfume store, I said, I have to buy perfume, and that was European Union, no, it's been EU, no, that was Emmanuel Ungaro. So, dear Toastmasters, next time when you find yourself in a new situation, just connect a certain name or a certain event with a certain feeling of yourself, and you will memorize that moment. Thank you.